Is a clean, healthy environment a right, or is it a privilege? Is it something you're born with and you just get? Or is it something that you go out and you buy it? Maybe you buy more of it, maybe you buy less of it. So I'm not a social justice or ethics expert, but I think that having something be a right, feel free to correct me, it doesn't mean that it does or doesn't happen. It's more of a should. It's not reality, it's sort of the ideal. So whether or not that water is dirty, it should be their right to be able to swim in it without getting sick. Yeah. That's why I do what I do, because I think everybody should be able to step outside and have clean water, have enough water. And there are lots of ways to talk about the reasons why we should preserve our natural resources. There's the sort of it's a right argument. The environment is here and we are developing, we are producing carbon dioxide that's causing climate change, and so just because we should protect it, that's why we do it. You can have an economic argument and you can say, well, if that paddleboarder falls off of their paddleboard into the water, gets sick, say they don't have insurance, they go to the emergency room, and $100,000 worth of medical bills later, the taxpayers are out of pocket. So we should protect the water because we want to save money. I mean, whether or not you think that is the right motivation to do it, that might be one way to talk about it that would convince somebody who's economically minded. But what I really wanted to talk about a little bit today was what's known as externalities. Because I'm going to guess, probably, most of the people here, most of you are not going to experience extreme environmental degradation in the normal course of your life. Because we can buy a clean environment. You go to USD, it's a pretty nice school, beautiful campus, have great programs like this. So for the most part, we're pretty privileged. We can come to this park. We can bring our food. If the water coming out of the tap is dirty, we can bring it in bottles and drink clean water. So we're okay. But it's like I was set up, the whole prop here. So normally, I wouldn't drink this water. A couple of reasons. One reason is, in order to produce this plastic bottle, it actually takes more water than what you can hold in it. That whole process of finding and creating the plastic and molding into this form and squirting it out of whatever big machine it squirts out of actually takes more resource than you are delivering to your mouth. So just a tip, maybe hold on to this, refill it, be a good thing. The other reason is that plastic is the number one pollutant in our waterways. It's the number one trash pollutant. So every time you use one of these bottles, it ends up somewhere, and oftentimes it's in the water. 80% of the trash in that bay came from the land. And sometimes it's negligence. People just don't realize or they don't care and they throw it out. And sometimes it's, the city is having some economic problems, and so they cut back the trash collection to only once a week instead of 3 times a week, and so now the trash cans are overflowing and now it blows out. But even if you recycle this, it's using some sort of energy, and at one point works its way down the line. What do you think happens to things like this when we're done with them? Let's take e-waste, for example. Who knows what e-waste is? Yeah. Electronic waste. Your computer, your microwave, your television, all that stuff can't just go into a landfill because it's got dangerous chemicals, more or less, in it, and metals that leach out, they get into the groundwater, they ruin the soil, whoever said that. It's a problem. So there's a special process that they go through. Now, so eventually you isolate it down to something the size of this that's dangerous. Where does that go? Does it go in your local landfill? What would you do with it? Can't throw it away. It's environmentally harmful. It's harmful to human health. Where do you think we put it? So, like, recycling isn't a magic thing. It's not like we say, I'm going to recycle this, and it just disappears. Like, what happens when we recycle things? They have to go somewhere. Some of them get repurposed, like you can recycle clothes, or like plastic will go, it'll get shredded into really small pieces, and then they make stuff out of it. Like they might make, you can buy clothes now that's made out of recycled plastic, like Patagonia makes some of their coats out of recycled plastic, which is pretty cool. That's a really good use of recycling. But let's say it gets down to some component part, like it gets down to this, and this is so harmful and so persistent, we can't ever get rid of it, and it's always going to be dangerous. Where are we going to put it? Really hard question, right? Like, what the heck do you do that? I don't want it in my backyard. Maybe I'll put it in a storage facility. Where are we going to put the storage facility? You want it in your dorm? Maybe we'll just build a little cabinet in your dorm room, and we'll put all the little plastic killer toxic bottle caps in your dorm room. Yeah? Well, what actually happens in a lot of cases is that we buy clean environment because we can. And the people who can't, they get the killer bottle caps in their dorm room. Okay? So, for example, e-waste. When you break it all down, it's metal and some chemicals. We put that in a storage container. Another country, Hong Kong, for example. Is Hong Kong a country? Buy it, bring it over there. We pay them. We pay them to take our trash, and the poor people there have very low-paying jobs. They sort through all this metal. They burn what they can. They're breathing toxic fumes, and then they dump it in a landfill. Blows toxins across their city. You know, their school, their kids are outside playing, and because we were able to pay them to take our trash, their kids are breathing pollution. Sounds like a social justice issue to me. It's an environmental issue. We bought our clean environment because they are poorer than we are, and they can't buy a clean environment. So these are some of the things that we can think about. These are some of the things that you'll see the United Nations talk about. These are things that you'll see activists get really worked up about. Because if indeed the environment is a right, it is something that we should all be able to have, then I should not be able to sell poor environment. I should not be able to sell sickness to children in China just because I want to drink or I want to play on an iPod and I can afford to send the pollution across the ocean. So when you're thinking about social justice, just remember all of the intersections. It's a really complex issue. Really complex. So you're going to be thinking about the environment, you're going to be thinking about recreation, you're going to be thinking about education. It's all interconnected, and there's always another step that you can take. So I'm going to stick around. If you have any questions, I welcome them. I can talk ad nauseum about clean water in San Diego. I can also talk a lot about other things, but I know less about it. But I just really want to applaud you guys. I think this is an optional program, right? You all chose to join this program, and you are the people who will change the world for everybody else. You are the people who will make sure that the kids in China don't get sick just because we have the option to do that. So thank you. Thank you for letting me be here with you today.